Hi, Mike Perez with Mastering the Young Band at MikePerezBand.com. This video is going to talk about the long tones from my new Young Band resource, Band Daily Skills. Long tones are one of the most effective ways for your students to work on tone quality through all of their different fingerings on their instrument. When you listen to a really good band warm-up, long tones inevitably are part of that warm-up just because they are such a great way of getting the mind engaged, getting all of their instrument patterns engaged. It's a fantastic way of getting your band to warm up. So when you're playing your long tones, the first ones you will see are two chromatic exercises that just go down by half step. The reason why I wrote those the way I did on your band daily skills is that second note is held for 4 counts. That gives your students time to think, listen, and if you use tuners like I do, to look at their tuner and if necessary, make adjustments. It's important when you're using those tuners to talk about the why. Why were you sharp on that note? Trumpet players, you're going sharp on your 4th position. Are you taking your slide out as you're doing that? Trombones, you're consistently sharp on 5th position. What do we need to do to not be sharp? Clarinets, when you are going to, your G, are you putting down your resonance keys to help you not be sharp, and so on. So you want to talk about the why of their playing. Why is that instrument not in tune? Why is that note not as resonant and full as the other? The next part of when playing these long tones is when you're playing, I really encourage you, if you have not checked out the buzz extension resistance piece, also called the burp, I use those with my band starting in the 2nd year. And it's a little piece that attaches to the lead pipe of the instruments. Students put their mouthpiece into the burp. That allows them to vibrate, and it feels a similar back pressure as their instrument. And then they get to hold their instrument and do the valves or the slides in the case of brass instruments. These are just for brass, not for woodwinds. When I'm playing long tones, a lot of times I'll start by saying note names. The students will say their note names: G, G flat, touch, G flat, F. And I do have young band students chant the note instead of sing it, just because depending on the range with students in the unchanged voice or even in a voice change, sometimes singing can be hard depending on the range. So I usually have them chant their notes instead of sing it. I will have woodwinds and percussion play a long tone exercise while the brass are burping. The good thing about the burp, one of the reasons why you want to use it, is it develops your brass players, just their auditory skills, their audiation. Are they hearing the notes as they're changing valves? Are they vibrating the note correctly? Are they vibrating the note and doing the valve? If so, that's how they open up their sound and play better in tune. If they're just depending on the instrument to make the note for them, instead of listening and audiating the note, they're going to be usually more out of tune than they are if they're hearing the notes before they play. So a lot of first reps, I have my brass on burp, I have my woodwinds percussion play through the exercise. Then I have brass plug onto their full instrument and play it full instrument. Just a warning on all of these long tones, the horns are starting on concert C, their G, that way they're in their middle range. So when you are vibrating, I know it's a little weird, but just start off having the horns vibrate what the woodwinds are playing. And then when they play full instrument, they'll get used to making the adjustment to going onto their G instead of their C. So just a heads up on your horn players. If you want to, what you can do is have woodwinds, percussion, and then your top horn player play the exercise and have the horns vibrate to match the horn player. That get a little tricky sometimes because inevitably some of your brass players are going to start listening to the horn player instead of the woodwinds. Isolate troublesome measures. 5th and 7th position for brass are notoriously out of tune just because of the lengths of the instruments, the amount of air that it uses, and just the way it sounds to the students. So when you're playing these long tones, don't just always play it beginning to end. Find the troublesome measures and repeat them. I usually repeat them 4 times. We'll play a troublesome measure once, 4 beats of rest. Then we'll play it again. Then we'll play it 3 times. Then we'll play it 4 times. Then I'll ask the students, okay, how many times was your second note right on 0 at the beginning? And the kids will show me 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So isolate those measures. Don't just always play straight through. The next part of my long tones page are the famous Remington Studies. Remington Studies were originally written for trombone so they could work their way through their positions. And band directors through the years have adapted them for the band ensemble just because they work so well for more instruments than just trombone. Very similar to the chromatic long tones. Have your brass players burp these exercises while woodwinds and percussion play. The debate always is, what's the most important note of a Remington? Is it the second note? Is it the third note? Well, the answer is all of the above. So sometimes what I will do with my Remington studies is, once the students get pretty good at them, to vary them, I'll say, okay, we're going to hold the second note today. So we're going to go da, da, da. And what I tell percussion is, you're going to repeat beats 3 and 4 one time. That way they end with us. What that does is that gives your students more time to look at that second note and adjust if necessary on their tuner or trombones with their slide, or maybe their jaw shape, etc. Sometimes we'll hold the third note. Da, da, da. We'll hold it for 4 counts. Sometimes maybe it's a fermata. If I'm really wanting to get my students watching me more, we might go da, da, da. So it can also be, just different variations on these Remington studies. You can have your leaders play 2 measures in the band, play it back. You can have one section play 2 measures in the band, play it back. There are so many possibilities for the Remington studies to vary them up. That way you're not just always playing the same thing. A variation that can be fun to do, especially when your students are doing different time signatures, is maybe do them in 3/4 time. Da, 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 and so on. So long tones are next to concert effort, the next best way to get your band warmed up in every class period, as well as in performances in that festival.